If you watched Senegal go 2 goals up on Belgium and called it a night, thinking the job was basically done, brace yourself, because what happened while you were asleep might be the wildest 40 minutes of football this entire World Cup has given us. I am genuinely sorry you missed it live, but don't worry, I've got you covered. Let me walk you through exactly what went down. Start with what Pone Tiao got right. Edouard Mendy was carrying a knock, so the backup keeper had to step in between the posts, and honestly, the man looked like he'd stepped off a fashion shoot rather than out for a World Cup knockout tie. We'll circle back to why that mattered. In midfield, Tiao made the brave call to start Habib Diarra, reshuffled his back line with Niakate and Sis through the middle instead of Koulibaly and Mamadou Sarr, handed Jacobs the left-back spot, and pushed Iliman and Diaye out to the right. On paper, that's a lot of changes for a knockout game. On the pitch, it looked inspired. Every single tweak gave Senegal more legs, more directness, and more of an actual outlet going forward. And it meant they were matching a European heavyweight punch for punch instead of sitting back and hoping. Now, I understand why people are already talking about an African nation lifting this trophy one day. But let's pump the brakes for a second. Reaching the last 16, even the quarterfinals, that's purely a footballing question, and plenty of these sides are clearly good enough for that conversation. Winning the whole tournament is an entirely different animal because the closing stages don't examine your touch or your shape, they examine your nerve. Can you hold your composure when the walls start closing in, when the crowd goes quiet and the clock is your enemy? That gap is still very real, and it's exactly why European sides keep finding a way through, because they've stood in that fire before and lived to tell the story. Which brings us to Belgium, who were flat out poor for most of that first half. Kevin De Bruyne looked a yard off the pace and didn't even make it to the hour mark. Trossard was a ghost. Doku couldn't get past his fullback and was hooked just past the 55-minute mark, and Senegal made every bit of that count. The goal that summed up the whole afternoon came from Ismaïla Sarr, chesting down a long ball out of defense with the calm of a man twice his experience, before drilling it low past the keeper. It was one of those moments where you just knew this was Senegal's day. Except football loves punishing you the second you start believing that. Belgium's frustration spilled out everywhere. At one point, Trossard and Tielemans were nose to nose with each other, which tells you plenty about the mood in that camp. Credit where it's due, though. From around the 80th minute, Belgium started knocking on the door, because sitting on a 2-goal lead is a genuinely dangerous place to be. You get nervy, you retreat, and suddenly pressure alone starts doing the damage. Rudy Garcia's changes completely shifted the picture. Romelu Lukaku came on at the break and instantly gave Belgium a physical focal point they simply didn't have with Teketelere leading the line. Then Dodi Lukebakio arrived for his directness, Nicolas Raskin for his legs and his runs beyond, and later Diogo Moreira, who I have been begging Belgium to throw on all tournament, finally got his moment and looked every bit the answer. Lukaku pulled one back to make it 2-1, and suddenly Senegal's bench had a serious problem to solve. This is where I have to call out Pape Thiaw, because his answer was to reinforce midfield, taking off Habib Diarra and Pape Gueye for fresh legs, when what his side actually needed was size and power at the back. Mamadou Sarr sat on that bench the entire time, a proper physical unit who could have gone shoulder to shoulder with Lukaku, and Thiaw simply refused to use him. Senegal actually should have killed the game off before any of that mattered too. Mboye had a glorious chance to make it 3-1 and side-footed it wide when it looked easier to score, and 30 seconds later, Belgium made them pay for that miss. A cross was whipped into the box. The keeper, yes, our fashion shoot friend from the start of this, threw himself at it, trying to punch it clear, and missed the ball completely, and Tielemans rose above everyone to nod home the equalizer in the 89th minute. 2-2, and Senegal's hearts were shattered. It's harsh, it's unfortunate, but football does not deal in sympathy. If you cannot see out 90 minutes and beyond, the game will always find you out, and Senegal only have themselves to blame for that collapse. Now let's get into that penalty, because deep into extra time, in the 120th minute plus 5, the officials pointed to the spot after the longest VAR check of the tournament so far. My first look, I thought no chance, barely any contact there. But the second angle tells a different story. The defender's trailing leg clips Tielemans right as he shifts his weight to control the ball, throwing him completely off balance. Technically, that is a foul, and yes, that is a penalty, harsh as it feels for Senegal. Here's the best part, though. Every single camera in that stadium was locked onto Lukaku. The broadcast graphics even flagged him as the likely taker. And then, calm as anything, Lukaku rolls it across to Tielemans, who steps up and buries the coldest penalty you will see all year. That right there is what experience buys you. The composure to manage a moment like that instead of just surviving it. Let's move to the other knockout tie, because England against DR Congo deserves its own spotlight, and not purely for the football. Congo are currently living through a genuine humanitarian crisis back home. Unrest, an Ebola outbreak, entire communities under real strain, and yet 26 players gave their country 90 minutes worth remembering forever. This was Congo's first ever knockout appearance in their history, and inside 7 minutes they were ahead through Sapanga, stunning one of the tournament favorites. Honestly, for 90 minutes, I just hoped this whole country could put everything else down and celebrate a team that gave absolutely everything for a shirt that means more than most of us will ever understand. Not every battle needs to be won to matter. Sometimes it just needs someone brave enough to show up and fight it. Their goalkeeper, Lionel Mpazi, produced one of the great individual displays of this World Cup, somehow keeping out two Jude Bellingham headers that looked destined for the net. Bellingham actually walked over and hugged him afterward, still in disbelief. England were sloppy for long spells of that first half too. Madueke kept getting shut down, the passing was loose, and they still somehow carved out 5 clear-cut chances and missed every single one, with Jed Spence given a torrid time down the flank by Sapanga's pace. But class told eventually. England became the first side since 1966 to concede first in a World Cup match and still come away with the win, and Harry Kane led that fight back. Here is a man who was told as a kid he was too heavy to make it, rejected by Arsenal's academy, and he is now England's top scorer at this tournament. His anger at a first-half penalty shout that I personally think the referee got right, no penalty, poured straight into a thunderous second goal. Anthony Gordon became the first player in World Cup history to come off the bench and register 2 assists in a single match, the first teeing up Kane's header, the second a gorgeous inside cut finished off with a back heel into Kane's path. Declan Rice adapted brilliantly at right back, and Elliot Anderson ran that second half beautifully. Every question aimed at Thomas Tuchel about leaving out Foden, Lewis Hall, Maguire, or Trent will keep coming until England actually go and win this thing. But results like this make his choices very hard to argue with. Congo, to their enormous credit, had Wissa somehow miss a simple tap-in while they were still leading 1-0, a chance that would have made it 2, and a reminder of just how thin these margins really are. Drop your take in the comments below. That Tielemans penalty and that denied Kane shout, consistent officiating or not. Our Portugal preview is up now too if you want to get ahead of the next round. England face Mexico after that, and trust me, you will not want to miss either one. Like the video, subscribe if you're new here, and I will catch you in the next one.